views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
So sexy it hurts, and I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Hey, welcome back this week, everybody, to Doing It with Styles here on WWDB-TV. Really thank you for your support here on the show and the station, and for all the viewers that come back and watch what I'm doing here every week. And I just want to give a shout out to all those people who aren't watching. So today I've got a really unusual, interesting guest. And his name is Coltyn Simmons.
Yep.
And you are the founder of Custom Fit Real Estate and Construction.
Correct.
So your basic premise is that you're going to help people update their home, fix their home, and you're going to sell it as well.
Correct.
So you have a contractor's license, or you work with contractors, plus you have a real estate license.
Correct.
So I got tons of questions. But the first thing I want to ask is, where'd you come up with the concept? How did you get into?
So my dad was a contractor. My mom was a realtor. And so my whole life I've had both sides of the spectrum.
Right.
And so I went and played professional baseball for a little while. When I got done playing in the off seasons, I would help my dad out with his construction company, because playing minor league ball, you're only making $800 a month.
Yeah.
So I had to make some money in the off season, so I would just naturally work for my dad. Well, then I started poking around at real estate. And so I've always had both sides of the spectrum, but I've never really infused them together.
Right.
So what would happen is I would have friends go buy a house, and they would have some real estate agent that basically would just open up the lockbox for them and say, oh, what a beautiful house.
Right.
Well, what would it cost to do this? And they would say, well, we'd have to get a contractor involved. Right. So then they would call me, and then I would go walk the house. We'd have to wait for the real estate agent to get there, show me the house, and I'd have to give them a price to renovate. So it got to a point where I said, you know what? I know I can do real estate, so I'm just going to go get my test. I got my test in 3 weeks, and started doing a little bit of both.
Right.
And from there, it just I saw a Property Brothers episode.
Right.
And they were kind of doing the same thing. And then I was like, you know what would be nice, though, is if the client, because 72% of Americans don't have $500 in their savings account.
Yeah.
But right now, they have equity, which is basically a savings account that you just can't get access to. So I said, you know, what if I covered the cost of the construction and the updates, got them top dollar, and they just reimbursed me at the close of escrow with the equity that they have.
Right.
And so I kind of talked it over with a few friends, and they said, I've never heard anything like that. That would be awesome.
That's a great concept.
So we have our general construction license,
right.
which is a full B2 license.
Okay.
And so we're fully licensed on the construction side. And so we go in, we walk the house with the clients, and usually for the listing side of it, we walk the house and we just point out some of the inefficiencies, or something that maybe needs repair, something along those lines. We take care of it. We sell the house for top dollar, and then in the end, they make enough to cover the cost of the construction,
right,
plus a profit.
Right.
And so what ended up happening, when I first started kind of doing this, we didn't have what's called the iBuyer, which are these people, hedge funds or just internet buyers that
right.
are buying these houses cash. And so it turned into these guys were coming in buying the houses, and then they would do the paint,
right.
the carpet, the few little things.
Yeah, they'd flip them then.
Turn around, put it on the market for $25,000 more.
Right.
And I said, we need to really get this program out there, because people are losing that margin.
Yeah.
And these investors are coming in. They're not charity groups. they got to make a profit.
Of course.
So they're coming in, they're purchasing the home, they're making the profit. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start covering the cost of the construction, and I'm going to say, basically, let's flip your house. You want
Right.
to sell your house, it needs repairs, it needs this. Instead of selling it to one of these iBuyers, and they give you a good price up front, and you think to yourself, well, my house is probably worth, Zillow says it's worth $350.
Right.
Right? They come in and offer you $345. And you think to yourself, oh, I don't have to show the house, I don't have to do this. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what they do is then they throw in these little acquisition fees and different little fees, which could add up to anywhere from 5% up to, I've seen it to 14%.
Yeah. Wow.
And so you end up selling the house for cheaper, but they don't realize it because they just assume those are just normal real estate
Exactly.
fees. They don't even realize that what they could have done is just listed it with us. We would have done exactly what they're doing, gotten them more money, and they would have had the profit rather than the investors making profits off of their properties. And so getting that out to the public, I know my followers know it, but getting it past that point has been difficult because there's so many shysters in the business.
Well, the first thing that you're going to think about is, if you're selling your home, is this guy's trying to scam me.
Exactly.
And which brings to mind the question, there are things that you can do in a house that are going to cost you money, but they are not going to add to the value.
100%.
So do you help the client decide those? In other words, I want to put new cabinets in here. These cabinets are fine. And if you put new cabinets in here, it's going to cost you $8,000, but it's not going to add $8,000 to the sale price of your house.
Yes.
So, but if you put in this, or you put in that, or you upgrade your AC system or something like that, that's going to add to value.
The first things that I tell people is I go, what I need you to keep in mind is that we are not remodeling your home. What we're doing is we are updating a property for the potential buyers. Right? So what that means is we have a buyer pool. We want to appeal to the largest pool of buyers possible.
Right.
So you might like gold finishes or stainless steel or this and this. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do it in this finish, because that will appeal to the biggest crowd. And, you know, well, we want to update this. Well, that's great. But what's going to happen is we're going to spend $8,000, like you said,
Right.
on this or having these specific plumbing fixtures. It's not going to add value to the property.
Exactly.
So
And-
we have to understand that fine line of upgrading.
And the changes in the market.
100%, and the trends of
and
design.
that's where I think it's advantageous to be a real estate agent or broker in addition to the contractor. When someone comes to you and they say, here's what I think my house is worth. This is what the market says.
Yeah.
This is what Zillow says, you know, like you say, $350,000. Well, that's not taking into consideration, you know, carpet sucks, flooring's bad, you got holes in the wall, your roof leaks,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
I call it deferred maintenance.
Right.
And it seems like every house I've ever walked in, unless somebody's very OCD about the maintenance and care of their house,
Right.
which most of us aren't. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all busy.
Sure.
We got stuff to do.
Sure.
Are we going to go take care of every little leak? And you know, usually not. So there's a lot of deferred maintenance. So it's not like I'm coming in and gutting houses.
Right.
What I'm doing is I'm just going in, I'm taking care of the obvious things to make it more turnkey.
Right.
You know, because in this market, you'll see a lot of homes sit on the market for a little while. Well, it's because in their mind, they're priced up here. They should be because their neighbor sold for this.
Sure.
They don't take into consideration their neighbor had a new kitchen, new floors, and all this. They just look at numbers.
Right.
And so you see we don't have that much inventory, but the inventory we do have isn't that great.
Right.
The homes that do come on the market that are clean, turnkey, you know, ready to move in, just bring your toothbrush, are selling like that.
Right.
Like within a few days. I mean, we had one sell within a few hours. They made an over asking price offer, and my seller said, I would be dumb not to take that. So we take the offer, and we're
Seriously,
good.
yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of that, and so what I'm trying to do is educate people that there are other options.
Right.
Right. There's not just a guy comes in, a woman comes in, says your house is worth this, we'll list it for this, I'll take a few pictures with my
Right.
iPhone, I'll put it on MLS and it'll sell.
Yeah.
Like, long lost is the day where you could just do that. Like, buyers are being more educated because of the HDY shows, and they're
Right.
seeing what homes should look like. They're getting more educated on the home buying process. So some of those houses that need a little TLC are sitting on the market for a while, and we're trying to eliminate that for our clients.
Exactly.
So that's why our average days on market is usually a fragment of the normal. Right now, the normal days on market is 30 plus days, but our listings are going in less than 11. So, and I think that this has attributed to that.
Yeah. So in my mind, this is a good thing, so I don't want you to take it the wrong way. So you're going to make a few bucks off of the construction side. You're going to make a few bucks on your commission on the sales.
Correct.
So if somebody's coming into my house and they're telling me, I'm going to give you a deal and I'm doing this for cost,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to that person. But I know you now have a vested interest in how soon the house sells, because the longer your money sits there, the less value it has.
Correct.
So you want to turn that house. You want to give good quality because you want the referrals. So
Yeah.
just because somebody's making a profit on what they're doing, that's what you're supposed to do. You know?
I have to keep. So I have two companies. It's the construction company and the real estate
Right.
side.
Right.
The construction company, what we do is we give the estimate up front.
Right.
We walk the house. I give you an estimate. That estimate says, if you are just John homeowner that wants to remodel, here's your cost.
Right.
Let's just say it's $8,000 to do the work that we're doing.
Right.
Because you're a real estate client, your cost is this.
Right.
You get a discount for being a real estate client.
And that makes sense.
So the construction side does make less on those jobs because the real estate side does make a commission.
But it's guaranteed money.
Correct.
How many houses have you had that have not sold in 90 days?
We've had, in the last 12 months, we've had 4.
Okay.
And the only reason why they didn't sell in 90 days is because the homeowners...
They hit in March.
Well, no, the homeowners decided to keep the house.
Oh, okay.
We renovated it.
Right.
They loved it. We started looking at some houses and some
Yeah.
options, and they said, Colton, now that you've done this, we can't find what you've done here anywhere else
Right.
without having to double our mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So we want to stay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
At that point, you pay the other price,
Right.
which is the construction price.
Right.
And then we either do a refinance, we pull out some of that equity, or we do something, or sometimes the homeowners have the money.
Right.
And they say, you know what, we just love it. Here, we'll pay you for the work, and we're just going to stay.
That's great.
Awesome, no problem.
That's
It's
great.
kind of like the show, I say, love it or list it.
Yeah.
And 4 times in the last 12 months, they've decided to love it, not list it.
Well, and a lot of people, when they buy a home, they go in with the option, I don't like the carpet. So the first thing I'm going to do is replace the carpet when I buy this house. I don't like the paint. I'm going to paint it, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like the fixtures. I don't like the fridge and the dishwasher and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So and as I told you, I've been in the business, and we used to a lot of sales would happen before we had flooring and appliances, and that's how the house was sold. And because we gave them an allowance in addition to, okay, here's the house, and you've allowed this much money for carpet, drapes, and appliances.
Yeah.
And anything over and above that came out of your pocket. So you have that kind of thing to watch out for too. So you got to have a neutral. In other words, if you're going to put a carpet in there, you don't want to put a bright blue.
No, you got to keep up with the trends,
Right.
And a lot of people are in the grays or the browns or the taupes and really when I walk into a house, they say, well, I think we should paint everything gray.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that would be great. However, you have this color of floor,
Right.
So now if I go and paint the walls gray, they're going to clash.
Yep.
And so then you're going to say, well, let's replace the floors.
Right.
Well, now we're getting into a renovation that's upwards of X amount of dollars. I don't feel like we're going to be able to make up that difference on
Right.
the value of the house. So how about this? Let's keep the floors, save you $8,000. Let's paint the walls a nice neutral taupe color, and so it all plays well together. And now,
Navajo.
yeah, right. Yep. I have one called Desert Suede. It looks
Yeah,
amazing.
yep.
And so what we do is we look at those things. We don't just say yes. We don't just say, you know, if they say we should do this paint color, there's a conversation to be had because I'm looking at it from
Well, you're their
different
consultant.
spectrums.
And
100%.
that's the reason that you're there is to help them and guide them through this process.
Yes.
So, you know, like I said, it's a brilliant concept. I mean, I think it's great. And so how long have you been officially doing this?
We've been officially doing it for a little over 2.5 years.
Okay. And you're still in business. That's amazing.
Yeah, right. And so I initially started to kind of do a little bit of I wasn't just going out there and marketing the update before you sell program. I was just doing it for people, right? Hey, you know, before we list it, we should probably repair what the dogs did here.
Right.
Hey, you know, before we list it, we should probably do this. And then, as I started talking to people and started seeing that other, like the property brothers were doing it, I said, you know, let's make this into something.
Yeah.
Let's market it.
Right.
Because it's a win-win. You get more for your house.
It's a win-win for everybody involved. For the
Everybody.
buyer, the seller, and you.
Sells
and,
faster.
Right.
You get more money in your pocket.
Right.
You got more money to put down on the next property.
Yep.
And so, you know, people say, well, you're going to make more on the commission. Well, what's 3% of an additional, you know, $30,000?
Yeah.
A few $100.
Yeah.
I'm not waking up
$900.
in the morning for that,
Yeah.
right? That's not the intention of it. It inherently happens, but that's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it so that we have because the other thing that happens with deferred maintenance, you run into problems because you got these inspectors out here, home inspectors, that they've never really been involved in construction.
Exactly.
They just took some classes and they
Yep.
know that that's maybe not right.
I
There's
know
some
a few of
cracked
them.
cover plates.
Yeah.
So what they do is they write this report that petrifies buyers.
Well, and
they walk.
The bigger the report, the more it seems like they're doing their job, and when not really,
Yep.
you know.
They're justifying the
I
reason
mean,
they're paying.
I had one situation where there were asphalt shingles on the roof, and there were 3 missing on the back side of the roof, and the home inspector had said written in his report that the entire roof needs to be changed, replaced. And all it said was entire roof needs to be replaced due to missing asphalt shingles.
Yeah.
And so you go around, and I took the buyer in there, and it was the buyer's guy.
Yeah.
And I took the buyer around there, and I said, okay, so you got 3, you know, you want this owner to replace this roof. You're going to pay for that. Do you want to pay for that?
Yeah.
You know. So, and it's just, you know.
Well, I had an inspector once say that the whole in-floor system of a pool needed to be inspected and replaced because they're missing heads. Well, the pool had 3 umbrella holes. It was an umbrella hole, and they said it was one of the in-floor pop-ups. I'm like, what certification do you have?
I know.
You know.
I know.
So, but what we're trying to do, because you know just as well as I do, it's about emotions when people come into the house.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they come into the house, and if the first thing that they see is an old door that's flaking paint and an old brass door handle that looks like it's almost kind of patining into something other than that, the first emotion that they get is, oh,
This
we're
place
gonna
is
have
a dump.
we're gonna have to do some work.
Yeah.
And then if they open the door and it looks beautiful, they've already, it's like erasing a pencil mark. You're still going to have a mark on there. So front door, it starts with a curb appeal.
Yeah.
And you go in and then you start, you're like, oh, that's great. In the back of your head, you're already looking for the next bad thing though.
Yeah,
Because
of
you've
course.
already hit them with a bad thing.
Yeah.
So then what I'm trying to do is I literally walk the house to try to avoid those so that everything is an emotional good.
Right.
Good.
Sizzle and
good.
pizzazz.
Everything.
Yeah, and that's what you're selling.
And so what we don't want is we don't want to put money into this and this and have them come in and notice the one thing we didn't touch.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not trying to spend a bunch of money. We're trying to spend smart money. And so we don't want to waste it on a whole bunch of other things. So we go in and we take care of the smart things that are going to get you the best ROI, return on your
Return
investment.
on investment,
Right?
right.
And so once we get done with that, then I also say, hey, the water heater needs straps. It's
Right.
not cosmetic, but I know it's going to come up in an inspection report. Hey, the roof has a few broken tiles. Let's take care of it now, so when that inspection report comes,
Right.
it doesn't scare somebody away
Yeah.
with these 42-page reports, right? Let's take care of as many things we can now so that we don't pull your house off the market for a week and a half,
Right.
2 weeks, have the inspection come in, them him and haw about it, try to renegotiate. This enables us to have a clean transaction, and in more ways than one. So it's on the surface, it's updating before you sell, but really it's getting ahead of problems before they actually come to a head,
Right.
and actually cancel the transaction.
Do you if the buyer has requested a walkthrough prior to closing of escrow, do you accompany the seller, or, well, as the real estate agent, the selling agent?
Yeah. Well, typically, when the buyer's doing their final walkthrough, they'll do the walkthrough with their agent.
Okay.
And the seller's usually not there.
Okay.
And we're usually not
Yeah, I
there.
was just curious.
But typically, what we do as the listing agent is we help the client get moved out, and
Right.
then we bring a professional cleaning crew in to clean the house.
Right.
Again, we don't want that buyer to come in and go, oh my gosh, you left the house in this condition.
Yeah.
It's happened so many times. And that's nothing more than a professional courtesy, really.
Well, it makes both parties, the seller and the buyer, feel good about what you do.
Yeah.
And you know, they're gonna tell people. Do you have other selling agents that you work with? In other words, you know, you have Joe Blow down the street, who's also a real estate agent. He says, hey, I want you to come and do this for my houses too.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
We don't
When you
provide
say
this service.
unfortunately, is it because you'd
People
like
have
to do
reached
that?
out. People have
Or-
reached out to me.
Yeah.
Agents have reached out to
Right.
me to try to do this program, and I say, you know what? If you're on the custom fit real estate team, you get this service because I look
Okay.
at it as a tool in
Gotcha.
their belt.
Gotcha.
So as a realtor, if you want this tool in your belt, join our team.
Okay.
Our team members, we have 9 team members, they get this tool in their belt.
Right.
And I feel like it would be a disservice to my team, my family of team members,
Right.
that if I'm
No,
just offering it to
I
everybody.
I understand.
And it's a value that we provide that nobody else can.
Right.
You know, another realtor can say, "Oh, sure, we'll fix up your house.
Right.
I got a brother that can paint.
yeah,
I got a cousin that can do tile."
Right.
It's illegal labor.
Right.
And you're running the risk of having a problem down the road, because we've all seen, you know, what the flippers do here in
Yeah.
town. And just because your realtor knows a guy that can paint does not mean that they're licensed, bonded, and insured.
Right.
So they bring these guys into your home, slip and fall off a ladder. Well, guess who's in charge? Do you think the realtor is going to say, "Oh, that's my guy.
Yeah.
I'll have my workman's comp
Yeah.
take care of it"?
Not gonna happen.
Of course not, because they don't have the insurances and bonds that I have to pay for as a licensed general contractor. So it's protecting the homeowner. So if and you can't market construction unless you are a licensed contractor.
Exactly.
So I feel like I've seen a few try to do that, and they're walking a fine line. Like they could get in trouble for that. And there's a few things that is a whole nother topic for a whole nother show, but flippers coming in and using unlicensed labor to keep their margins where they need it,
Of course.
and then you buy the house, you don't know
You
right
have no
off the
recourse.
bat. You don't know off the top of the just doing a walkthrough, and inspectors don't really know because it's
Right.
hidden behind the wall.
Right.
Illegal electrical junctions, illegal pipe connections, illegal material, using galvanized material when it should be copper
Right.
or PEX, and like they're trying to save money because they're using illegal labor. And when I mean illegal labor, I mean that they're not licensed contractors, right? And
And they're not working for a licensed contractor.
correct. So then these guys come in, they buy the house cheap, they do cheap labor, cheap work, sell it, and then poor homeowner comes in and goes, "Hey, I got this. This fell apart after the first few weeks I lived here."
Right.
What's their recourse?
2 weeks in, my garbage disposal fell off.
Yeah. What's their recourse? Their recourse is, now I just paid closing costs, down payment. Now I got to go put a retainer for an attorney.
attorney.
I got to pay an attorney this much money. I don't have that money.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe the attorney will work on retainer. Maybe they'll work on like will pay me at the end,
Right.
or we'll charge you. You know what?
Right.
You're
If we
talking
win-
about
if we win.
If we win, 6 months, a year, and then what ends up happening in the end? Well, we can't prove that they knowingly blah blah blah. Blah. You're really putting innocent home buyers at risk by some of the work that these flippers are doing, And I think that there should be recourse on not only the flippers through the division of real estate, but the contractors board should be involved.
Yeah.
You should have, the people that are flipping homes should be able to furnish a list of contractors and work that was done.
And lien releases.
Correct, lien releases when they sell the home.
Right.
Upon close of escrow, you would provide me with invoices, receipts of licensed contractors that have done work on your house.
Right.
Because if not, you're selling a product that doesn't really have a warranty.
Right.
I'm incurring all the risk. And these guys sell the house and they're on to the next property. I think that there should be something done by the real estate division to protect our buyers.
Right. So
That's my opinion.
What do you enjoy most about what you do?
The thing I enjoy most is obviously helping. I mean, the post stamp answer is helping clients buy their future. Me, I love seeing before and afters.
Yeah.
And what comes along with that is the reaction of my clients with the before and afters. So I love seeing a product as is and what it turns into. I love the feeling of seeing that, and I had something to do with that. The other thing is that I love sitting down with somebody and saying, I can get you this if we do this, and it working out that way.
Right.
And them just being so happy. For instance, even though it's an update before you list program, there's always situations that we run into that's a little outside of the box.
Right.
For instance, I have a few people that are behind on their payments. So we make the payments for them.
You mean their
and-
house payments?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Mortgage payments.
Behind on their mortgage payments. We make the payments for them, get them current, and that cost goes into the update before you sell program as a miscellaneous item. And that way, it helps them in more than, we're helping people in more than just updating their house.
Right.
We had a client a few weeks ago that we updated the house, and she said, I'm a month behind on my payments, and I can't make, because of the pandemic has affected her.
Right.
And I said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of the payments. We'll at the end of it, you can reimburse us. And she started crying, and she's like, you were sent from God, and she was just so, like, that was her only explanation.
Yeah.
Things like that, although it doesn't happen every day, but things like that, it's like a good shot in golf.
Yeah.
It makes you come back the next time. You can have a horrible round, you hit one good shot, and you're coming back. With what I do, because it can be monotonous. Wake up, show a house, remodel a house. It can, but every once in a while you get a situation like that where you've helped somebody and you know that nobody else would have done what you did. And the feeling from that and the appreciation I got from that makes it all worth it.
So what do you hate most about what you do?
What I hate most is that we live in a day and age where there's more information than ever before, but it's not all true.
And everybody's an expert.
Everybody's an expert because they have Google and they have a HDIY TV network, and so everybody's an expert, and they don't realize the difference between, just because I had my truck in the shop the other day getting the oil change and they had to switch out a few things. I got the truck out of the shop. I'm not a mechanic. I don't have the knowledge of a mechanic because I had my truck worked on.
Right.
These people think because they've sold a house or because they've done this, that they're automatically a realtor or experienced as a realtor.
Yeah.
I deal with this hundreds and hundreds of times a year. You've dealt with it twice in your entire life. Just because you get your car worked on doesn't make you a mechanic. Just because you've sold a few houses doesn't make you a licensed realtor. Just because you've updated your kitchen doesn't make you a licensed contractor. I know a lot of licensed contractors that shouldn't be licensed contractors.
I know.
I think we both do.
Yeah, I know.
But I think what I don't like about it is the thought that because Zillow says this or because this, my house is worth this, and they're just not open to the idea of maybe he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
That's the one thing that that gets me the most frustrated, I would say. The other thing that gets me frustrated is that, let's call it what it is, You can be high school diploma, looking for what job can I get that has the most income upside and the least amount of downside, and I can have freedom of schedule, I can pass the real estate exam with a C+, and I can start making money right away.
Yeah.
So what happens is you have these people getting into our business that are desperate because once they get in, they realize, oh, my phone's not ringing because I got my license. What's going on?
I know.
So then they go up to these homeowners and they say, I can get you $450,000 for your house. And I call it buying a listing.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy the listing because I'm going to tell you a unrealistic number, and then I'm going to hit you with 10 price reductions.
Right.
And now not only do I look bad as the guy that just gave you this false expectation of the price you're going to get, but now every other realtor is inherently going to get a bad name because that seller now thinks that all listing agents, all realtors do the same thing. They give you this false expectation of a price, and then they price reduce to get to where it should have been.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I don't like the
And
dishonesty.
if it started
of
out
it.
there to begin with, it probably would have sold a lot faster, less headaches,
Yep.
and you know, you
Yeah.
don't have a buyer there or a seller that's pissed at you.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
happy. We're happy. Everybody's happy. But there's over 18,000 realtors in Nevada. If
No shit, that many.
If you don't know
Wow.
a realtor, you must be living under a rock. So
Yeah, I know personally probably 20 of
I know
them,
exactly,
you know?
exactly. And most other people are the same way.
Yeah.
And I think experience matters.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with a realtor that just got their license, let's hope that they're either on a team, because even if they're with a brokerage, they're not going to have the experience that a new agent that comes onto my team
Right.
immediately has the experience that I do, because I go on listing appointments with them.
Gotcha.
I do the price comps with them. And so it's not a gamble with a new agent. And I think so many times these new agents are getting business, and they're giving us a bad name.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's snaky realtors out there that will just say whatever they need to say to get the next deal because they're desperate.
Yeah.
And then you know, there's also people that in the absence of value, what do? You lower the price.
Yeah.
In the absence of value, I'm going to drop my commission because I don't have the value that they do, so I'm just going to drop my price. Well, if you actually look at the net sheet, okay, I'm going to save $2,500 because I went with the discount broker and saved some money on the commission, but they didn't do anything else but put a lockbox on the door and take 15 pictures, put it
Yeah.
on MLS.
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing is we're actually taking care of a few of the updates. We're bringing up the value of the house. So in the end, you're going to net X amount more than by the measly couple bucks you save with
Right.
going with a cheaper broker.
Yeah.
So educating the public on those things, because you know, I had a buyer the other day that came in from California, only had 2 days, was looking at houses. I know what they want. They really know what they want.
Right.
And at the end of the 2 days, they're debating on which house to make an offer on. And I stopped them because they were hot and heavy. They're like, we got to make an offer before we leave. Guys, do you really like either one of those houses? Because based on our discussions, neither one of these houses really work for what you want.
Right.
And then the wife looks at me and goes, I actually hate this house, and I would settle for this, but I hate the road noise.
Yeah.
I go, you're using the word hate on two houses you're thinking about spending $1 million on? Are you in a rush? Well, no, but we use so much of your time, and we're only in town for a couple. Flights are cheap.
Yeah.
I said, come back in a couple weeks. Let's keep looking. I'm not in a rush. You're not in a rush. Let's hit the brakes a little bit. And the wife looked at me and said, you know, we've bought a lot of houses, and I've never had a realtor talk us out of making an offer on a house. Coltyn, we were ready to pay. We were ready to make an offer on those houses, but we were so caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fact that you kind of said, take a step back and let's really look at this. It's rare.
So you work with both buyers and sellers.
Predominantly sellers,
Right.
but I do have some buyer clients that I've been
Right.
working with for quite a while.
But there's can you offer the same construction services to the buyers that you offer to the sellers? In other words, you've got a couple of buyers, or you have a buyer and they really like this house, but it needs upgrading.
Yep. Can't change the
So
location.
can you ethically go to the seller and say, look, my clients like this house. Here's a service that we offer as a listing agent and a contractor. We can do this, blah, 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 blah. Help you sell it. Make these. Is that an ethical thing that can be done? I'm just asking.
It's a gray area.
Okay.
Because the listing isn't mine. I would have to collaborate with another listing agent.
Well, yeah. I mean, if there is a listing agent, you of course
Yeah.
have to work with them.
I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Is the short answer.
Yeah, I was just curious if that's come
It's
up.
come
at all.
up.
Oh, has it?
It
Okay.
has come up, and what we've done is instead of having what we call a holdback,
Right.
and we use that holdback to repair carpet or replace carpet
Yeah.
or kitchen cabinets, stuff like that. We've done an escrow holdback of funds that has to be approved by lenders and title company and all that stuff.
Right.
We've done that, but it's a little bit harder coming from that angle. So, but what we do quite often actually is, a lot of people want new construction. So we go find them a new home straight from the builder.
Right.
We do very minimal upgrades through the builder because the cost of doing it through the builder is so substantial.
Yeah.
And they go in with the minimum down payment. The builder usually pays the closing cost. As soon as they get keys, they give me the keys. We go in and we remodel the house.
Gotcha.
We've done that quite often. And then one of the things that I have a lot of reviews about is walking through homes and having the glasses on of a contractor rather than just a realtor.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, look how pretty.
Yeah.
And I say, and I'm looking under the sinks and I'm looking around the showers and I'm looking for the items that are, I call it a curse.
Yeah.
As soon as I walk into a house, I'm immediately looking at all these things because I see it so much. I notice drywall, problems with drywall. I'm like, there's probably a leak right there. Let's go look at the toilet, the tub,
Right.
the shower, the faucet up above that. So I'm looking at those things. And so a lot of my buyers, I've talked them out of buying a home because I'm like, hey, there's issues here. You can't see it,
Right.
but let me just show you this, this, and this, and it's much worse behind the drywall.
How many homes have you gone in? I'm curious. How many homes have you gone into recently that still have the Kitech plumbing?
So much of it has been replaced.
Yeah, but that,
already, but
I do know of people who have taken the money and then not replaced
gone on a vacation
Yeah.
to Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know them too.
it. Yeah. And I just wondered how, I mean, I've run into it a few times.
Run into it a few times up in Summerlin,
Yeah.
Sun City, Summerlin.
Yep.
Where they got the money and they didn't apply it properly.
Yep.
And with the Kitech, the actual Kitech itself is fine.
Yeah.
It's the fittings.
The fittings.
It's
Yeah.
the fittings.
That's the ones
And
that always failed.
So it's something that I couldn't recommend a buyer to move forward with.
Right.
But the other thing that I tell them is, look, this house has been here for 27 years. It hasn't been leaking. There was actually a couple batches of those fittings.
Right.
They ended up correcting it.
Right.
So they may have gotten the good batch because there hasn't been a leak in 27 years. You're
Right.
probably okay.
Yeah.
It is kind of where but that's
It was a
that's
good
not a
concept when it
scientific
originally came out. It was a great concept, and it was just because of some material problems.
Yes.
Got a bad name.
Yep.
So yeah.
And now all the houses are in the PEX piping,
Yeah.
the Kitech, but it's not. But the fittings have all been corrected.
Right.
So now it's good to go. So I don't see it that much. When I do, it's not a good feeling, and and I tell my clients, look. In reality, they misuse the funds. They were paid to fix this. They never did.
Right. What else is there?
What else is there? What other deferred maintenance
Right.
is there? So we look around and we take a look, and I'm looking at, you know, wetness in cabinets or old water damage in cabinets and, you know, drywall damage, stuff like that. And even stucco damage where water has actually affected the stucco from the outside.
Right.
I'm looking at all those things. It's like going car shopping with an auto mechanic and saying, hey, you don't want this, it's a lemon. That's what some of my buyers have said to me is, I'm glad that you came with me because I would have made an offer on that house.
Right.
You'd have probably had another $40,000 of repairs after you moved in. But yeah, you can't change the location. Are you okay with that? You know what? I was planning on remodeling anyways, so yeah, let's move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. So that's why it helps on both sides of the spectrum to know the product that you sell. Just because you pass a real estate exam doesn't mean you know the product you sell.
Right.
I mean, every realtor should know the product that they sell from the ground up.
Yeah.
Maybe 5% of them do,
If you're lucky.
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
They know how to open a lockbox. They know how to list your house on MLS.
And for those real estate agents that I have worked with, I do know some really good agents.
Me too.
And they're out there, and they're the ones that don't always agree with you. And if they don't agree with you all the time, that's the one that you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, you don't-
Because they're telling you the truth.
Exactly,
You
and
know?
from their experience.
Right.
And it's the agents that are saying, well, you know, Susie, this, that, like they correct it.
Right.
And the ones that are just like, oh yeah, great house, yeah,
Yeah,
make
yeah,
an
yeah.
offer, make
Yeah,
an
yeah,
offer.
yeah.
Just
Here, sign
so
here.
compliant because
Right.
they're like, they can smell the commission coming. I know a lot of agents, and some are new agents actually,
Right.
that came in, were taught the right way, have a good moral compass. I see it on a daily basis. There are some really good agents out there, and I trust them, and I would give them referrals. But unfortunately, we're in a business where, you know, the average agent sells 8 homes a year. You know, the average agent makes, you know, what is it, $38,000 a year. You can't live a life on that. So sometimes you get a little desperate,
Yeah.
and you make suggestions or choices, or you forget to mention things, and you turn a blind eye to the water damage in the corner, or even worse, you don't even notice it because you're just trying to like talk this house up so much.
Right.
You know, so you know there are
Just
good
put some
realtors
paint on
out
it. That'll
there.
hide it. You know?
Yeah. I heard my dad once told me put some paint on there. I think it's called Kills.
Yeah.
And that I had somebody say, well, if there's mold, can't you just do Kills and that kills the mold? No, not exactly.
Yeah.
Because you haven't fixed the problem.
Right.
And so you know there's a lot of misunderstanding and misguidance really from real estate agents that I wish that there was further education and a little more pre-qualifier to get your license, because what it does is it enables people that shouldn't be in a sales position or in this type of a position. We're dealing with some of the most expensive investments that you're ever going to make in your entire
Yeah.
life, and you're letting somebody with zero experience, they've never bought a home. That's the thing that kind of bugs me sometimes, which I know not everybody's in a situation where they can buy a house, but from my perspective, it's hard to give your opinion or your advice as a professional if you've never done it yourself.
Right.
If I've never purchased a home and I'm going to say, oh, you know, we can do this. It's, you know, oh, don't worry about that. It's how many times have you bought a house? How many times have you been through the decision-making process
Right.
of buying a house? And if you can't say you have, well then there's some ground to make up there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's impossible, because I know that there are, you know, agents that rent. Right now I'm renting.
Yeah.
I'm renting because I just sold my house, and you know I'm renting because I'm considering building a house.
Right.
So I'm not going to, you know, go buy a house and then go build a house. And so right now I have a rental agreement. I'm living in the house, and the homeowner is actually going to have me sell the house when I move out, which is good. And we're actually doing an update before you sell.
Yeah.
So, but I think that you should have experience in the things that you are promoting,
Right.
and selling, to give your client the best sound advice possible. I can't be a money manager if my credit score is 400 and I don't have and I'm $200,000 in debt.
Right.
It's hard to take advice from that. You know, we were talking before the show, I got to lose a few pounds. Well, if I go and I show up and the trainer is 350 pounds and not solid muscle, but overweight by 100, I'm really going to second guess the things that he's telling me.
Right.
The same concept goes for real estate. You know, I feel like if you're working with a realtor, make sure there's some questions that you have all the right in the world to ask them. Like, what's your experience? When there's a tough question, who do you go to for answers if you just started? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a team lead that can help us with these negotiations? Those are some of the questions that I would ask.
You have 9 agents?
Right now we have 8 agents.
Okay.
We will have 9, I think tomorrow. She's joining the team.
Okay.
She had surgery on Friday, but we'll have 9.
What's the first question you ask an agent that, I mean, do they come to you or do you recruit them?
So I'm supposed to be recruiting them, but I don't because I don't have time to recruit. So typically it's organic. They come to me with questions, I answer their questions, and then they ask about the team, and then next thing you know, they join the team. The first thing that I do is I give them a personality test. So they do this test that's called a KPA, and I want to make sure.
My major in college was psychology.
Okay.
And I was working part-time in the construction industry and realized I could make more money there than I could as a psychologist. So
Yes, exactly.
I'm familiar with the test.
So we take the KPA because I want to make sure that that you have
That you put the right people in the right job.
Exactly.
You're not going to put an accountant who doesn't like people as a receptionist.
Correct.
You're going to put them in the back room where they can play with numbers and they don't have to deal with the public.
So you got to have a little bit of you have to have that personality, a little bit of a bubbly personality. You want to be a little bit outgoing, but you don't want to be too outgoing that you're taking it off into outer space when you're talking about the straight line of sales.
Right.
You don't want to be too far out here, but I want to make sure that the personality is a match for our team. And then next, I want to make sure that you're coachable. I want to make sure that you're not a know-it-all. If you come in and you start immediately telling me how I should do things, well, then you're probably not a good fit because you need to be coachable and you need to understand that, you know what, I've been making bread for the last 10 years and now I'm getting into another industry. Maybe I could tell him about making bread, but I can't tell him about selling real estate. And if you have that humbleness, you know, I want them to be outgoing but humble.
Yeah.
And if you're a match, then I take it to the next level and we have a discussion. What are your expectations? Here's my expectations. Are you okay with those expectations? Because what a lot of teams do is they don't set the expectations up front, and then after 6 months to a year, if that agent's not doing very well, I can go and say, hey, your expectations were this. And we reverse engineered that and said, okay, you want that? You need to do these things.
Right.
You set this expectation, not me. And you're not doing these things that we determined would get you to that place. So that's the accountability conversation I can have with them if things aren't going correct. But if we never have that conversation up front, that agent can say, well, you aren't helping me, you're not doing the things that, and so I have an expectations conversation right off the bat. And from there, I think that with the understanding moving forward, it's harder to come back and say, I didn't have success because of this team. They can really understand that I didn't have success because I didn't do the things that Coltyn said that I should be doing to basically improve and start my business.
So if you have an agent that's not doing very well or not making sales or not living up to theirs or your expectations, do you partner them with another agent that is doing well to kind of mentor, or does that cause
the first thing we do
strife?
The good thing about the process that I do is I have a lot of agents on our team that are very, they go on showings with the new agents.
Okay.
They help, if I can't be there, they help the agents with searches and showings and stuff of that nature. We had an agent.
So you don't have a dog-eat-dog agency?
No, 100% not. We go out, we do happy hour together, we do little events together, and we're like a family. We had a new agent join the team, just got her license a week ago. Didn't quite have her Century lockbox app on her phone yet. And so one of our agents went with her on the showings. And luckily, my agent that showed her homes has a CCW, concealed weapon permit.
Gotcha.
Goes in to show a condo, and there is a squatter there. And so he didn't have to draw or anything, but she's a beautiful woman and had a female client with her.
Right.
Went into a home. Who knows what would have happened
Right.
if the male agent wasn't there with them. And so when they first start with female agents, I always encourage them to do showings, especially with new clients, with another male agent on our team.
Right.
So there are little safety precautions that we encourage right off the bat to help avoid some of the situations that you've heard about on the news. But to answer your question, if an agent is struggling to make it, the first thing that we do is we reverse engineer what the problem really is. And that means, listen, you're getting 8 leads a week. How come we're not converting them?
Yeah.
Is it a script problem? Do you know what to say, when to say it, and how many times to say it? Okay, you've been at scripts practice every day. You're getting better at it. You're getting okay. So maybe that's not it. Okay, are you making the phone calls that we told you should be making? Well, you're a little light there. You should be making 25 calls a week. You're making 5.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem. And if you're not saying the right things enough times, you can tell the difference between a confidence answer and I think this is what's going on.
Right.
And if I'm working with somebody to purchase a $400,000 house, I want to make sure that the answer that they say is said with confidence, and they've said it a few times.
Right.
So maybe there's
And
a
they know what
problem
they're
with
talking
that.
about.
And they know what they're talking about. Yeah. So is it a knowledge thing? You know, so we reverse engineer those things. And then if it gets to a point where I say, you know, you're doing all the things right, you know, let's make this call together. Let's go on this appointment together and let's see. Because sometimes an agent can say, well, no, I'm saying that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. But then they get on the phone and it's like, for me, nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
A lot of awkward silences and it, you know, and so I really try to get involved, but I'm also at the same token, I don't want to micromanage.
Yeah, and
So-
that there is that line that you know, helping without because I've always felt that if I have to micromanage, I don't need you.
Yeah.
I'm doing the job anyway.
Exactly.
So I either let you do your job,
Yeah.
and if you're not, then I'll find somebody who is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's hard sometimes as a manager.
It is, because there is that fine line you talk about.
Right.
And like, have I helped them enough to give them enough tools and mentorship to have success?
Right.
We also have a team manager who is there to literally answer any questions you have, help with any questions you have. He'll literally go out to the showings with you and videotape for your social media. I mean, he's literally there to help with anything that you could possibly have an issue with.
Cool.
And so he is our team manager. And so if he can't answer the question, or if I'm not available, he's there, and vice versa. And so we also have a transaction coordinator, because part of what my goal is I want to take away everything off your plate so that you can do what you're supposed to do, which
Right.
is sell and make communication, make relationships, go out there and be with people and increase your database. That's what I want you to do. I don't want you sitting there all hours of night filling out paperwork and all this different stuff. I want you to know how to do it, but we have a transaction coordinator that handles all the paperwork, all the back end of everything. And then with our lead organization system, our CRM, Dan, our team manager, handles all of that. So if a lead comes in and you haven't contacted him, he'll shoot you a text or a call. Hey, Marcy wants to see this property. Make sure that you get a hold of him. Okay, thank you. I'm on a listing appointment. I'll give her a call right afterwards. I'm trying to eliminate all the minutia around being a realtor so that you can go out there and show houses, meet people, and really expand your database.
Do you encourage your agents to farm
Yes.
specific areas and
Geofarming is a huge thing that
Yeah.
we do. Each agent should have a geofarm. I say it should be somewhere near where you live
Yeah.
to start with.
So that you know the area and you're familiar with, where do you go shopping? Where's the schools?
100%. And if you have a
what
sign on the
roads
back
suck?
of your car, they see it all the time. And when we can do open houses again, we can't do them right now.
Right.
But when we can do open houses again, we're going
See,
to
I
be
didn't
doing
realize
it in
that. Let's stop there for a second, because that's one of the things, because of this pandemic, that one of those little things that you don't think about every day that is going to affect selling a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can't do an open house, what are you doing in lieu of open houses?
We're doing a lot of virtual open houses
Okay.
or virtual tours.
Yeah,
So
but that's not the same.
it's not.
You know,
It
I mean,
really
it gives you
isn't.
an idea of, I'm kind of looking for that kind of house. How can I get inside?
Well, at the end of the day, we all know. Well, we don't all know, but I'll let everybody know. Open houses aren't necessarily to sell that home. It's to meet people that are looking for homes.
Right.
And if they like that house, sure, we can make an offer on that house.
Right.
But let me ask you a question. What are you looking for?
Right.
Are you looking for this specific area? Oh, the school. Okay, so you're looking for that school district. You ask the right questions at an open house, they might not buy that house, but they will buy a house, and
Right.
you've built that rapport.
And
so
how many real estate cards do you normally find at open houses or houses that you're selling?
I have stacks of cards, and my clients know just to put them in this drawer, and at the end of the week I'll grab them. And our lock boxes now give us all the pertinent information I
Right.
need to follow up.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm going through calling each agent, but I keep them just in case I want to call and follow up. But usually I chuck them.
Yeah.
For me, the reason why open houses were such a big part of our business is for our team.
Right.
Is to meet new people.
Sure.
So to meet people that are in the market. They may not be in the market right now, but they will be if they're looking at houses.
Right.
And it's not to sell that house. That's the misconception that a lot of people have, is that if a listing agent comes in and says, we're going to do open houses on your house, we're going to do marketing, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And I tell people all the time, that is great for them.
Right.
Not you, the seller.
Right.
Of course, it could help market your property and get it out there and have your neighbors, oh, Georgianne's selling her house. Okay, but at the end of the day, what sells homes is internet exposure, MLS,
Right.
and having a realtor that has a database.
It's on the ball. Yeah.
It's on the ball. So the whole sales pitch of we're going to do open houses, we're going to do this type of marketing and this type of marketing, is all to get them more business.
Right.
When I do marketing, and I tell sellers this right up front, when I do marketing, it's to get information and leverage your house to get information about other people that might be interested in buying or selling.
Right.
And then if one of them wants to buy your house, absolutely, we're going to push to have them buy your house. But that's not the actual goal of the marketing of that. And a lot of agents use that as a way, because it sounds good. It's like poetry to sellers' ears. You're going to put my house in magazines.
Yeah.
You know how many things sell because of open houses? 2%, according to the National Real Estate surveys. 2% are going to sell from open houses. 1%, less than 1% from magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The MLS is going to account for about 87% of sales, which means.
But not the only reason that you're going to have that high rate of sales from the MLS is because you have agents looking at
Correct.
that MLS, and they know their buyer, and they know what's for sale within that buyer's parameters.
Yep. So
And-
87% is going to come from the MLS, which means another buyer agent
Right.
saw your home, sent it to a client,
Right.
or it was sent out on an automatic email drip from that agent.
Right.
That agent's going to bring a buyer to your property, and they will make an offer.
Right.
87% of the time, that's what happens. Now there's a growing trend of online direct
Right.
sales, where somebody went on one of the websites, saw the house, found out you were the listing agent, contacts you directly
Right.
and says, I want to see the house and make an offer on the house. That's
Right.
about 4% now. It used to be like less than 1.
Yeah.
Now it's a pretty sizable amount. The other things are miscellaneous things from sign calls, neighbors, flyers, mailers. That all accounts for about 8% of everything else. But putting it, for me, the most important thing about listing a house is having quality photos. Like for me, especially nowadays, because just like the dating apps, and you're just swiping.
Yeah.
Well, house is the same thing. They swipe. Oh, wait, look at this one, honey.
Yep.
Pictures is what gets the initial attention. So photography is huge.
Yeah.
We use a company here in town that's amazing. They bring great light, and if I don't like the photos, they'll redo it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the high-res photos makes all the difference.
Makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
It gets butts through the
Because
door.
it, and I probably shouldn't say this, but it actually makes the house look better than it really is.
In a lot of,
Right.
I've had a few times where they said, this house looks better in person than in photos, but
Yeah.
usually it's, oh, this room looks a lot bigger in the photos.
Oh, well, of course.
Of course. Well, that's their job.
Yeah.
Right? Well, if you also have and I cringe, when realtors take their phone and they take a picture and they're in the background of the mirror, or they
Right.
take a picture of like the side of a cabinet
Yeah.
or the side of a toilet, and you're like, or the best is when you see one picture, it's of the front of the house, and you can see the frame of the car window. So they literally took the picture from their
Right.
car and took off, put that on MLS, and listed it on MLS.
What we used to call windshield surveys.
Oh man, that's what just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But you're really doing a disservice to your client. Just like it's almost to the line to. It's not almost. It is. It's disrespectful to your seller,
Right.
to your client, to give that little of effort.
Well, if you have a good agent, and like I said, I know a few, and I know one that I recommended to a friend of mine, that they were from California, and they were looking to buy a house here in Vegas a few years back. And I said, okay, you need to go talk to this agent. You know, here's a couple more, but this is the one that you need to talk to. And after
Yeah.
they did. And the reason that I sent them to her was because she listens to her client. If you tell them, I want a 3-bedroom house, I want it in this kind of an area, I want a single story, I want this, I want that, that's what she would take you to.
Yeah.
She didn't try to sell you a house that she already had, you know, in her
One of her
portfolio.
listings.
Yeah, one of her listings.
Yep.
That she really did her homework and took you to. I would say that 90% of what you saw is what you told her you wanted. You know, and she may be off a little bit here or there. And man, they came here, they met with her. Went back to LA, came back the following week, went out for a day with her to look at houses, and the following week they bought one of the houses.
Yeah.
And because she did her homework and she didn't, she was a little bit, I want to say picky, but that's not really, she was selective in the clients that she took on. She didn't just take on a bunch of people to take on people.
Makes
you know,
sense.
she would tell people, you know, I'm not really sure that I'm a good agent for what you want.
Yeah.
You know, but here are other people that you can.
Yep.
So, and that's what I respected about her
Yeah.
too. I liked her.
Yeah.
So,
One of the
anyway.
beliefs that we have on our team, we call it a core belief, is that
And that was you, Annie.
the most important thing, and I'm sure Annie will probably agree with this, the most important thing in a real estate transaction is the positive experience that your client has.
Yes.
And so we do a lot of things from driving paperwork to somebody that's not comfortable with email or online, to showing homes around their schedule, not ours.
Right.
We're not an advocate of the 4-hour work week book that a lot of realtors have tried to kind of focus on. Is we're going to work smarter, not harder. And so what that means is I don't work on the weekends, so don't call me on the weekends. You'll
Right.
get my voice recorder. Matter of fact, you probably don't even have my direct cell phone number. You have my office's
Right.
line. So when you call, you'll leave a voicemail, and maybe I'll get back to you on Monday because they want to have a life of their own, which I can understand.
Right.
But
But then they were in the wrong business.
if your core belief is the positive experience that your client had during this transaction, you're going to be available to answer questions. You're going to be, ready to go, like I said on the other transaction, outside of the box to make sure that that experience was an enjoyable one.
Yeah.
There's times where I eat cost of inspections or this or fixing this because I know that this is the house that they want.
Right.
The seller won't fix what we're asking for, and it's a deal breaker for them. And I say, listen, John, I'll go in and I'll take care of that once we close. You have my word. And we close on the house. I go in and fix it, and they're happy.
Yeah.
Had I not gone outside of the box, because my main concern
Well,
is
that's your
their
best
positive.
advertising.
It is.
You're gonna get more clients from that than any advertising that you do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you still got to advertise because people got to know that you're there. But
Correct. And there are people that, let's face it, they don't want to be satisfied with your service because otherwise they won't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
There's those people that just, I don't want you to solve my problem because then what am I going to talk about?
Right.
They're just those type of people.
Right.
And my mom always told me, kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness. And there's times where I respond to their email and I erase it all and I say, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. How can I make this experience better? And
Right.
I do whatever it takes to make sure it's a positive experience. But I think that comes from abundance. If you come from a place of scarcity
Yeah.
and desperation, you're going to lash out at people. You have a different feeling inside. But if you come from a place of appreciation and abundance I'm going to take care of these things, and maybe I have to pay a little out of my own pocket, but in the end, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
And karma, like we were talking about earlier, will come back and it will help me in the future. Maybe I do something on this transaction and I lose a little bit. On the next one, I'm going to win a little bit. And it all evens out. A hitting instructor that I used to have in professional baseball said, water always finds its level.
Yes, seeks its own level.
Water, if you're struggling at the beginning of the year hitting 215, but you're a 315 hitter, water will always find, you might be hitting the ball on the nose, but right at the shortstop, right at the, anyone. You're going to have some of these little dinky little flares fall in for a hit. So water will always find its level. So your character will always end up showing through in the end. If you're a good person that comes from abundance and gratitude and humbleness and wanting to help, coming from contribution, in the end, the universe or whatever you want to call it will take care of you.
Yes, I believe that.
But if
Yeah.
you come from scarcity and desperation
Yep.
and selfishness
And greed.
you're always going to be looking to be greedy on the next deal.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're aware of that and you have the awareness of people and the way that they interact with you, you can spot that from a mile away.
Dude, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite lines. We're all in this together. We're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you something that's really going to bum you out. We're just about out of time.
Oh.
So
I lost track of time.
I know, and time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't you look into the camera, tell people how they can get a hold of you, any of your contact information or anything that you really think that they
Okay.
should know about your organization.
I would say on social media, we're heavy on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us at Simmons Custom Fit Real Estate Group on Facebook. You can contact me direct at any time, 702-408-4891. If I don't answer, shoot me a text. I'll always get back to you. But Facebook is probably the first place I would look.
Okay.
I'm usually on there quite often. So then my personal page, Coltyn Simmons, friend request me. If you have any questions about construction, real estate, I'm here to bring value in any way, shape, or form I can.
Cool.
All right.
Well, guys, here we are again. Thanks for coming in. Like I said, we really appreciate it here at the station and on the show.
And just remember, if you're going to do it with Styles. See ya.
Nice work, John.